Hi there, and thanks for joining me for another edition of Dumb It Down for Me, Dave. If you're not familiar with my video series, this series is designed strictly for business owners or folks that manage small businesses that need to learn a little bit more about technology. Now, we don't get really technical in these short videos, but what we try to talk about is what are the benefits of the technology to your business? How are they real business transformers? How do they affect your operations or improve your communications? How do they improve productivity? How about your marketing or sales? So we try to focus on these types of technologies that are real benefits to the business owner and give them a little bit of background with the help of a whiteboard just so that they get some basic understanding of some of these concepts. Now recently I received an email from a gentleman named Keith who runs an accounting firm down in the Philadelphia area. And he sent me a question regarding virtualization and wondered if virtualization might make sense for his business and was looking for some more information from us. So I thought we would spend the time talking a little bit about virtualization. No doubt it's something that you may have heard about, and it's something that's actually been around for quite some time in the enterprise space, but is finally pushing its way down into the small and medium-sized business market. So we're going to talk a little bit about what virtualization is and some of the benefits to a small to medium-sized business. Now, it's really easy to understand the concept behind virtualization. What gets a little bit more difficult is once you get into the nitty-gritty of how virtualization is done. There are many different flavors of it. We're not going to focus on that. We're really going to focus on what the benefit of virtualization is to your business. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about what the basic concept of virtualization is. And really the best way to sum that up is by describing virtualization as the ability to do more with less. So virtualization really came into the enterprise market to help large companies that had hundreds of servers to consolidate their hardware so they could use less power, take up less space, have less moving parts. And this was a great benefit to these businesses to cut down on their energy costs and cut down on their maintenance costs to run all of these different pieces of hardware. Now in the small business arena, as Keith mentioned in his email, he maintains about 5 or 6 servers for his business and is concerned about having to constantly replenish that hardware and wonders about virtualization. So let me talk a little bit about how virtualization works. So by doing more with less in a server, we're able to consolidate. Let's take an example of one server. One virtualization server has the ability to single out different sections of that server to be individual servers. So each one of these tenants inside of this main piece of hardware can act like its own standalone server. And in the background, all of these tenants are sharing the disk space and computing power, processing power. And the virtualized software inside of this machine allows it to divvy up the power and the storage, processing power, memory, in order to give each one of the tenants the amount that it needs. Now the other thing here is that virtualization allows you to run many different kinds of operating systems. So maybe in your environment you might be running a Windows server, you also might be running a Linux server. Well, in a virtualized environment you're able to run a Windows environment literally right next door to a different operating system like Linux, for example. So virtualization allows you to share the resources of memory and processing power and storage across multiple servers or tenants inside that one piece of hardware. Now virtualization can occur on your site where you would have that server located in your office, and can also take place in a cloud-based service where a third-party provider would provide virtualized servers in a shared environment to you over the internet. Now let's talk about some of the benefits of virtualization. So as you can imagine, with less hardware to manage, this is going to allow you to use less power, spend less money on cooling. So instead of having 5 or 6 servers in a room that are going to generate a lot of heat, you only have maybe 1 or 2. Obviously less space that is going to be taken up by this hardware. Next benefit would be having to do with management. So if I'm your IT person or your outsourced IT provider, if I'm managing 6 different servers, I have to individually do Windows updates and patches and make sure that that server, each one of those servers has the proper antivirus on it, and monitor each one of those pieces of hardware. With virtualization, we really cut that down. So now you only have one piece of equipment to manage, and it's very centralized. So I can roll out antivirus very easily to this one machine across those multiple tenants, rather than individually having to do that for individual pieces of hardware. Third benefit is fast deployment. So in a historical type of method where you'd have a single piece of hardware that you'd purchase to run a certain application, obviously that takes time. You've got to have that hardware spec'd out, it has to be built, received, set up, and then the application loaded, and then you're on your way. With a virtualized environment, you can literally turn up a server in a matter of minutes, so that becomes a great option. The fourth benefit has to do with disaster recovery. So if you're running a real critical application on a standalone server, you could run a duplicate server on a virtualized environment for a lot less money. And the disaster recovery component also opens up a lot of different options when you need to spread out some critical resources. The fifth benefit to virtualization has to do with the ability for you to gain more resources. So if there's an application that you are considering for your company, but the cost of the hardware might have been a speed bump or a roadblock or to that application, that cost now goes away. The sixth benefit that we can talk about is that many of the virtualized software packages exist in free versions. So there are some companies that have a basic first step into virtualization with their software as a free offering. So you could download this version and bring it up on your virtualized environment, and it hasn't cost you anything. So that's a great way to get introduced into the technology and get your feet wet and see what virtualization can do for you. Well, that ought to do it for this short video on virtualization. I hope you learned a little bit about what virtualization is and some of the benefits that it could bring to you as a small business owner. If you have an idea for a technology topic for this series, please send me an email at dumbitdownformedave@skyrope.com. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.